It's gonna be a brighter day. Reach out for the sunshine. Forget about the rain. Just think about the good times, and they will come back
Welcome to the annual Grand Prix pre-race show.
Coming to you, of course, from coastal glamorous Montevideo.
A name that translates roughly as Mountain Village Bath in a variety of European languages.
How we doing? Everything looking good? Okay.
Look at all those cars in a
The
line.
collective amount of horsepower is absolutely staggering.
And so, the exhaust fumes.
There's the approaching the Phillips head turn. Millimetrically perfect.
0.04 inches perfect for backward people who don't use the metric system. He'll have to really put his foot in it by the end of the...
I can't make heads or tails.
No, that's utterly ridiculous.
cut out for him if he wants to stay in the league. I can't make heads or tails out of it. You?
No clue, but no doubt it'll be exciting.
He'll have to really put his foot in it by the end of the race.
Bruce Williams ran off! I don't know what happened to Bruce Williams, but he went right off the track. I don't know what's happened there. Also, I think my microphone started working now. Check, check. I'm gonna see if the chat can hear me. I'm on the wrong mic feed, I think. I do apologize, folks. There we go. Okay, that should do it. That's a lot better sounding now, isn't it? I hope so. Well, in any case, we're gonna try and get a replay and see what happened to Bruce Williams there, because that's put him right at the back of the field. So let's take a look-see. So he seemed to just run off wide, got collected by Passini there, and that's put him right at the back of the field once again, and that's gotta be a real shame for him, honestly. That really has to stink on his part. Roberto Ragazzi, I think that's pronounced. Ragazzi's gonna come back into the pits. I'm assuming this is so he can change to the wet tires, because as you can see, it's starting to chuck it down out there, to the point where it's got people quite concerned. Now the question now, will the soft lock, and that's, I didn't catch who that was. That's Spagnoli, and Bruce Williams is coming to the pits too. But is he stuck there? There seems to be a problem with this track involving the pit lane. I'm gonna have to say that to Viking75 after this. Your track's broken, Lamau. If that really is the case, and Bandiera's apparently going to be coming into the pits very soon as well, so it's all for the taking for anybody at this rate, especially when the weather changes to the point where you have to go to the wet tires. Thankfully, there's been a fair bit of weather poor weather throughout this weekend, so I'm assuming they've got at least some experience with a wet track. Now, cars will almost certainly be getting lapped at this rate. But I think this might be a terminal problem for some of these cars. And out Bandiera goes. I don't even remember what position he was in. I think he was leading. He might have been leading at one point. I can't remember. Well, in any case, he now drops down to 9th. Technically, or not technically, but roughly speaking. Now, I think they're going to be able to get the rest of the cars prepared in pit lane, so this glitch might have fixed itself. I'm not sure yet. 29 seconds that took. 29 seconds. Just let that sink in. So, as I said before, things will be the drama on track will be spicing up with these pit lane changes, and these tire endurance conflicts might have something to do with the whole affair. As Nicola Larini finally enters the pit lane to make his stop. There's a bit of a collision there in the pit lane. That might not help for morale. And that's definitely not going to help with morale. The pit crew weren't ready for him, so they have to go and get the new gear. Oh, that is gonna sting big time. At least they were prepared for him this time. Can't say the same for everybody else, unfortunately. It seems like everyone is just generally soft-locked. Now, if this is the case, we might have a serious problem. Because if the game or the track soft-locks like that, and no one gets out of the pit lane or finishes the race, then, well, there's no race to be held. And, well, there might be one of two ways of getting around that. One is we move the track elsewhere. We do a different venue in Australia, or somewhere unknown. just a generic relocation affair. And I hope we don't have to do that, because I quite like this track, as awkward as this track is. It is really cool to see relatively modern cars, or I guess, if you're talking nostalgia, good cars, quote-unquote, going around an old racetrack like this. Well, in any case, Tarquini, or Gabriele Tarquini, who we've actually seen in, I think it was the 2024 season of the Video Game Championships in Formula 1, at least if memory serves, he did pretty well. Was it Gabrielle? My bad. Well, in any case, there's 4 laps to go. The track is very oily and very slippery now, so they're gonna want to be careful. It is essentially a skating rink out there. And Tarquini's made the right call. He's made the pass, and he now takes the lead. So Colombo's looking to try and get in on this, but as I said before, there's only 4 laps to go. However, the track is still very, very wet. So the question now is, are these tires gonna last? Dry tires on a wet track, the combination there, the combination is usually quite a terrible one. Pretend you didn't hear that. And now down to 3 laps. And I will kill my mic and let the mysterious trio of guest commentators go over the rest of the feed for you. Enjoy.
He's going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to stay in the league.
knows you're not lucky having Channel 54 to tune to. With the Doctor every weeknight and on Saturdays. And what... Sorry, Ken. What more could one ask?
This is Murray Walker introducing in Dolby Surround and Q Sound. Commentary by Murray Walker. Record. Long straight.
As you... Critical time now. Turn one they come. A fabulous sight. 22 cars fly down to turn one. It's a beautiful start. Oh! That's taken him up a position. He forces his way through. Spectacular overtaking. That's put him down a place. Remember, anything happens in... Remember, in 12th place and they... 12th place and they... He's been overtaken. Oh! Remember, anything happens in Grand Prix racing. Overtaken. Oh, that's down a position. Unbelievable.
You're right there, Murray. They have to concentrate on two things. Trying to pass the car in front and trying...
That's put him down a place.
overtaken. Oh! Remember, anything happens in Grand Prix racing, and it usually does.
They have to concentrate on two things: trying to pass the car in front and trying to keep the car.
He's been overtaken. Oh, that's down a position. Unbelievable.
You're right there.
This'll really help the team in this year's Constructors' Championship. It's not enough to be lucky. He never, ever gives up. He's overtaken. Oh, that's down a position. Unbelievable.
You're right there, Murray.
Yes, the beauty of this race is that it's totally unpredictable. What a fascinating season this is turning out to be. Put him down a place. He's lost a place. Look at that. Remember, anything happens in Grand Prix racing, and Unless I'm very much mistaken, I am very much mistaken. His engine's blown.
Yes, that's his race over. He'll now have to
Unless I'm very much mistaken, I am very much mistaken. His engine's blown.
Yes, that's his race over.
That's taken him up a position. That's put him down. That's put... overtaken. Oh, that's down a position. Unbelievable.
You're right there, Murray. They have to concentrate on two things. Trying to pass the car in front and trying to keep the car behind at bay.
Remember, anything happens in Grand Prix racing, and it looks to me, yes! Now he's up into first position, and he's leading.
You're right there, Murray.
It looks to me, yes!
Right there, Murray. They have to concentrate on... back.
Remember, anything happens in Grand Prix racing, and it usually does.
They have to concentrate on two things. Trying to pass the car in front and trying to keep the car behind at bay.
That's taken him up a position. He forces his way through. Spectacular overtaking there. That's put him down a place. He's lost a place. Look at that.
You're right there, Murray. They have to concentrate on two things. Trying to pass the car in front and trying to keep the car behind at bay.
He's the fast. He's the fastest man on the track. That was an excellent lap. He's in a class of his own. Man on the track. That
Tooth.
remember, anything happens in Grand Prix racing. This'll really help the team in this year's Constructors' Championship. It's not enough to be lucky. That's and he usually does.
They have to concentrate on two things.
He's the fastest. looks to me, that's put him down a place. He's lost a place. Look at that. Crosses the line, he'll have only one more complete lap of the circuit to go.
You're right there, Murray.
And it's the last lap of the race, the final lap. Only one more lap to go. Checkered flag. It's a win. He takes the checkered flag.
Fantastic drive. Great job.
Sam, je peux emprunter ta perceuse?
Voici la toute nouvelle perceuse Drill Autronics Super Pro. Bois, métal, plastique, rien ne lui résiste. Avec 87 accessoires, Drill Autronics. Utilisez vos patins, changez d'accessoires et survoltez votre voiture. Décorez vos gâteaux avec style avec Drill Autronics. Vous pouvez même arroser vos plantes. Chapeau, Drill Autronics.
Si ça existait, on l'aurait. Parce que chez Renault Dépôt, on a plus de marques, plus de modèles, plus de choix. Renault Dépôt, celui qui fait baisser le coût de la rénovation.
Feel so fine. All the little things you need are there for you now all the time. Oh, 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 oh. Day by day, just anytime you need us, come on over. All you need is, all you need is, all you really need is us. Woo, yeah.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the first round of the Video Game Championships here at the Australian Grand Prix. We'll take a quick look at the overview of the track. There we go. I hope you're all having a wonderful day or night or whatever it may be, you know, whichever you prefer. Now, while the background music loads up for the next song, I guess we'll just talk about, well, the fact that we're running slightly behind here. Basically, I'm an idiot. Go figure. No. What happened was I forgot to render a pre-race visual, which is kind of the plan for the rest of the series. But it doesn't matter. We've got it figured out, it's all loaded up, and we're ready to go anytime. We're just gonna wait for the background music to finish off, and we'll just basically get straight to it. In fact, I think we're about ready to go now. We'll play a small commercial first.
Well, that should keep you grand snug for another year.
We've got gas central heating in our house.
Oh, you'll be even snugger than your gran then.
Where's your head?
Thanks. People over the road have got central heating. They did it last week.
On your own?
No, I had a few mates to help me.
Whether you're big or small, with service care from Southern Gas, you get service that cares.
Now, we've made it to the pre-race preparations here. Now, as I said before, there's not really much to talk about since the series has started, or has just begun. And I don't really have any notes prepared either, so I guess we're just gonna kind of wait for... Oh, there we go, right on time. Guess we're just gonna wait for all the cars and teams to get prepared for this big day. This big day out in Australia. Now, I think the thing that had me concerned was the fact that this track was actually crashing very frequently on the Volkswagen Fun Cup. We actually considered abandoning this track and going to the Adelaide International Raceway, or AIR for short. Not to be confused with the Adelaide Parklands, the one that actually used to be hosted in as F1's Australian Grand Prix from 1985 to 95, if memory serves. Now, normally I'd be joined by some sort of co-commentator for this kind of stuff. That was the plan. But everybody's busy. So you have me to deal with, at least for the pre-race preparation stuff. Which shouldn't take long, at least, as we are expected to have, according to this, yep. It was supposed to be James Allen and Martin Brundle, but Martin's got something to do, personal stuff, and it's going to be James Allen and Mark Blundell doing the actual in-game commentary. I'm just the guy talking before the race begins. Speaking of which, hope you're all having a wonderful night or day, whichever it is. Time zones are funky, I know. In any case, you should see all of the cars. There's the pole sitter, in fact, Ralph Furman, will be starting in first place for this Australian Grand Prix. Very out of the blue performance, I won't lie. Not to say that's a bad thing. In fact, I think that's very essential at times like this. It is expected when you randomize the AI driver levels like that. Maybe. It's to be expected. Oh, while we wait for the announcements to start, I guess we can talk about something else that's kind of interesting, is that while Ralf Schumacher, and I've been getting it wrong for years, is not Schumacher, it's Schumacher, so Neo, if you're hearing this, hello. I know she isn't here for this event. While Ralf Schumacher did a fairly good job, especially, actually exceptionally good, getting second place in the new Williams, Juan Pablo Montoya, my guy, struggled really, really badly. In fact, he winds up 18th on the grid. Whereas Anthony Davidson, who actually got disqualified... Go back here for a minute. Hello. Yeah, he got disqualified very early on. You know, very early on... not long... Correction. Not long after. Why is this... face that way? Just there we go. So he had been disqualified fairly quickly after qualifying had wrapped up. So I really don't know what the deal is there. I'm not even sure what would be the point in giving him a penalty to begin with. He's at the back of the field, you know? I don't know why you'd have to disqualify it. He's already dead last, so... That's not helping, because he is standing in for Jacques Villeneuve. Oh, sorry, yeah, he is standing in for Jacques Villeneuve. There's Massa, Felipe Massa, getting prepared for his first race with the VGCs. He was a test driver for Ferrari. Briefly saw Montoya for a moment there, don't question it. Yeah, we briefly saw him there. And... yeah, with Massa, it was surprising. He didn't do too well on the Friday session, and then he locked right in during the Saturday practice. And then, as it turns out, he does a fairly average performance. He is about, I think, 4 places behind Schumacher. So Massa, we'll be going through the qualifying overview fairly soon. Don't you worry. Oh. You weren't meant to see that. That was an accident. Well, I think it's about time to get prepared for proper coverage. I'll see you in just a moment. Just like that, we are now locked in. There's no turning back now unless the game crashes or the computer crashes. We are not changing anything from here onwards. Welcome everybody, properly now, to the Australian Grand Prix, round 1 of the 2026 Video Game Championships. I'm sure everybody is very excited for that. So as we see the cars, or at least the PS2 graphics that were inserted here, while that's going on, we actually have the starting grid to take a look at, and it's 58 laps around this simple-looking yet deceitful street circuit. Racing conditions are expected to change here and there. So, starting in first place, I'll turn the volume down a fair bit here, because I don't know if you can hear me that well. So starting in first place is Ralf Furman. Second place is Ralf Schumacher. So it's an all Ralf front row. Third place is Fernando Alonso. Starting in fourth will be Nick Heidfeld. And fifth place is Jos the Boss Verstappen. Mark Webber, the Australian homeboy, will be getting 6th place. He'll be starting 6th, and hopefully he will improve from there onwards. In 7th place, it is Jenson Button. Michael Schumacher will start in 8th. Justin Wilson, very out of the blue performance for the newcomer again. He starts in 9th. In 10th place is Heinz-Harald Frentzen. And Olivier Panis will start in 11th. Felipe Massa, the Ferrari stand-in for the currently banned Rubens Barrichello, starts 12th. Not the best performance, as we mentioned earlier, but it is what it is. Starting in 13th place is David Coulthard, going back to the MP4 17D, I believe it is. The MP4 18 has been held off, apparently because of tons of technical problems. Enrique Bernoldi starts in 14th. Giancarlo Fisichella, the second Jordan driver, had really struggled to keep it on the track for qualifying. He starts in 15th. In 16th place, it's Jarno Trulli, with Cristiano D'Amato, the other Brazilian driver, starting in 17th. In 18th place, it's Juan Montoya, the guy I was rooting for. He had a very, very poor performance. He starts in 18th. Going further to the back of the grid now, Antonio Pizzonia starts in 19th place. Pedro de la Rosa, very lucky to keep out of the 11th team rule, and he starts in 20th. And as I said, right at the back now is Kimi Räikkönen, who had a dreadful lap, and I am being told that oh, there we go, right in time. I was about to say, I was being told that the actual starting procedure has begun, but Anthony Davidson starts at dead last. Weather-wise, it's not expected to get any better than it was the past couple of days. We were told that it was going to be anywhere from a 20% chance of rain to a 36% chance of rain. And, what do you know, the rainfall has begun right as the warm-up lap begins. So I imagine this will be putting everyone out of sync with the rest of the events. I think I've said all I do. I think really I've said all I would need to say. So I will let the rest of the game tell its own story. So enjoy live commentary from James Allen. From James Allen and Mark Blundell. See you at the end of the race.
Right now, we'll take you straight over to James Allen and Martin Brundle. Enjoy the race.
Lots to play for from front to back of the grid here. You know the drill, folks. You get 5 lights, and when they go off, we'll be rocking and rolling. You ready? You ready? Go! A terrific start, amazing. Squeezing him out. Takes a wide line into turn 1. Away like a rocket ship.
Unbelievable start, great start. Everybody's through that first corner, nice and clean, but there could be some issues here coming into turn 2. A lot of the guys at the back of the grid especially are running on light tanks of fuel.
Well, what's happening? So good start.
Yeah, now we're just calming down slightly here, and everything's smooth.
Twice now.
But interestingly now, I want to see what the pace is. I anticipate that they're going to run at least up to 45 laps or so in their first stint. Some of the guys in front might peel off a little bit earlier and want to see whether they're going to make up any road track time and gain position, and see whether some people behind make anything of that as well. But this is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. There's a number of guys there still out on track, made track position, but the guys
to believe this, folks, the game just crashed. Amazing. So, I'm gonna play some music real quick, and we'll get this show back on the road. I do apologize, everybody. We will get this up and running if it is the last thing I do. So just stay tuned, okay?
and Martin Brundle. Enjoy the race.
Lots to play for from front to back of the grid here. You know the drill, folks. You get 5 lights and when they go off. Like a rocket ship.
Unbelievable start, great stuff. Everybody's through that first corner, nice and clean, but there could be some issues here coming into turn 2. A lot of the guys at the back of the grid especially are running on light tanks of fuel.
Well, what's happening? So good start.
Yeah, now we're just calming down slightly here and everything's smooth.
Twice now.
But interestingly now I want to see what the pace is. Anticipating that they're going to run at least up to 45 laps or so in their first stint. Some of the guys in front might peel off a little bit earlier and want to see whether they're going to make up any. But this is really going to put the track amongst the pigeons. There's a number of guys in position and see whether some people behind make anything of that as well. But this is really going to put the
going.
But this is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. There's a number of guys there still out on track, made track position, but the guys who have timed it perfectly will come out on top by the end.
Well, it shows you just how fast you have to react in Formula One. You have to have your sums in your head and to be ready and to be thinking. Lightning fast reactions there. They knew, and now we. This race, and what about that for luck? Ted has got some news for us. I tell you, James, that's a battle for... And Ted has got... That's a battle...
But this is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. There's a number of guys there still out in track, made track position, but the guys who have timed it perfectly will... But this is really...
And that's a battle for 9th place, and they've swapped places.
He's not...
There he is! He's in third! He's in front! Up to third!
He's not going to be a happy... But this is...
There he is! He's in third! He's in front! Up to third!
He's not going to be a happy boy, is he? But
going very...
But this is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons.
And Ted has got some news for us. I tell you, James, he's now up into 9th position. Really, he had no choice starting from where he did on the grid. He's just done a lap, and that's very quick.
Definitely looked nice and light. When he made that move, it was very easy. And on the start, we saw that as well. He was definitely pumped up on the brakes, caused a little bit of damage at turn 2.
Yeah, I'm at the one in Burbank, so you check.
They're going to try and recover the situation. Now, this could well be them tossing the koi in, and that might well prove to be an inspired move, and you saw just there.
I think the timing could be perfect for him to have a great result, but wasn't that interesting in parking in line like there was at the supermarket.
Some damage, obviously, to his car as well.
Yeah, they're having a torrid time already. One of the guys slowing up, looks like they're out.
They're going to try and recover the situation. Now, this could...
happy boy, is he? But the problem is now going to get up to speed very quickly indeed. Got in his sights, and he want to get past him, won't he? Eh? But this is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. There's a number of guys there still out on track, made track position, but the guys who have timed it perfectly will come out on top by the end.
Well, it shows you just how fast you have to react. They're going to try and recover the situation. Now this could well be them tossing the coin, and that might... They're going to try and recover the situation. Now this could well be them tossing the coin, and that might well prove to be an inspired move, and you saw just there.
I think the timing could be perfect for him to have a great result, but wasn't that interesting in parking in line like there was at the supermarket?
Try and recover the situation. Now this could well be them tossing the coin, and that might well prove to be an inspired move, and you saw just there.
I think the timing could be perfect for him to have a... But this is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. There's a number of guys there still out on track, made track position, but the guys who have timed it perfectly will come out on top by the end.
They're going to try and recover.
possibly looks like maybe a toe link or something, because that right rear looks like it was towing out, even the left rear at that stage as well. Yeah, it's got some issues. They're up and down suspension. Mechanics know what's wrong. I foresee it's out.
Yes, you can see them, just does look very loose. It's not safe. Let's put this car in the garage. There you can see again, that car, it's the left rear suspension just really letting go through that corner.
But this is really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. There's a number of guys there still out on track, made track position, but the guys who have timed it perfect.
up to 6.
He's not going to be a happy boy, is he? But the problem is now going to get up to speed very quickly indeed. Got in his sights. He want to get past him, won't he? Eh?
Well, they didn't take any chances taking the wheels off. They're going to try and recover this. I do not, Adam and Even, what is going on? Wins the Grand Prix. He doesn't deserve. That is outrageous.
Oh, I'm gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. That is not possible. And I can't believe it's even allowed.
a race that was! Fantastic driving there from Cristiano Di Matta. Gets him his first ever Grand Prix win. What a way to start the season off for the German-based team for Toyota. Finishing in second place. Out of the blue, again, a very great drive. In fact, I would give him the drive of the day, Felipe Massa. And in third place, I'm sure he'll be happy to settle with that at least, is Jarno Trulli. In fourth place, as we go to the cameras as they pick up the post-race celebrations, Mark Webber will finish in fourth place. Fernando Alonso gets fifth. Antonio Pizzonia sixth. And Giancarlo Fisichella with finishes in seventh. And Michael Schumacher will probably be happy with getting that one crucial championship point. But to say that Toyota have hit the ground running here is an understatement. And let's see what the constructors' standings look like as a result of this. We'll see in a moment. As we cut back to the rest of the broadcast, or the rest of the broadcast signal here. And in a short while, we will get a better look. You can see those very talented, charismatic drivers throughout the field. Very impressive driving from all parties concerned. So everybody's going back into Parc Fermé now. Toyota and Renault actually have hit the ground running, getting both 10 points respectively, because both Renault drivers did finish in the points, as did both Ferrari cars, but it wasn't good enough. So Felipe Massa gets his points run, and I'm sure we'll be seeing the race winner popping out of his car any second now. There we go. So you'll be very, very happy with that. We briefly lose our signal there as we go back here. So, those are your top 8 finishing positions. We'll take a look at the full race results right about now. So, Olivier Panis just finished it. So, technically, Schumi did not finish. None of these drivers here finished. And it's a very confusing situation. It really is. Well, in any case, Felipe Massa will be very happy indeed. Hello, everybody. It's me again. But Massa will, and there he is, popping out of his car, I believe. So, he will be very, very happy with that. And what a crazy start to the season, quite frankly. See, I said before, Toyota and Renault exit this opening round with equal fights going on. Both 10 points for both teams respectively. But at the end of the day, the best driver on the track, at least for the time being, is Cristiano Di Matta. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy to celebrate as we see the drivers making their way to the podium. And any second now, I believe the national anthems will be playing. In fact, here they are. They're coming out. I believe that's them. And once these are done, and well, that's anyone's game really. Yep, here they come, and this is a great little run that we had going on tonight. We know we had a couple technical issues. There was a 30-minute delay for the race. But right now, I don't think anybody really cares. So, enjoy the music. we have officially ended our coverage here at the Australian Grand Prix, and that really is it from us for the night. We hope to see you for the next round, which hopefully we can get up on the screen in just a short moment. Just let me move this to here real quick, and we will show you what the next round is. So, join us in 2 weeks' time, roughly, for the second round of the Video Game Championships 2026, and we're going to this extended version of Brazil. But until then, that's it for me. I've been your host, Debug McGraw. You've been hearing James Allen and Mark Blondell in the commentary booth doing their performances for the VGCs. And I hope to see you all next season, or next week. End. That's it for me. Take care, and have a good night.